Sage Wanderer here, coming at you from my van down by the river. Well, the political season is upon us, and the voting has begun. I personally cast my vote yesterday. In Oregon, we vote from mail-in ballots, and so I received my ballot in the mail. I filled it out and hand-delivered it to a drop box yesterday. One of the main reasons that I hand-delivered it is that I've been hearing of mailboxes being broken into all over the country, and ballots being stolen out of mailboxes and tampering with the mail. So I went straight to a drop box to deliver my ballot. I also activated my family members. I got them all involved. I made sure and got them registered to vote. And I magnified my vote by getting people who wouldn't normally vote to vote. So my personal voter turnout is higher in my family than ever before. I believe that there are some indicators that may indicate that against, in opposition to historical norms, I think we might actually see a Republican red wave. Typically, the party that loses the presidential election then usually wins the midterm election. It's kind of a check and balance sort of thing. For instance, the 1994 midterm elections, that was a Republican wave in opposition to Bill Clinton, who was elected in 92, and he immediately went after our guns in 92, and in 94, Republicans turned out to vote against him. And they put a whole bunch of new freshman congressmen in the United States Congress. Some would argue not for the betterment, because many of them were not prepared for their new role. But it also gave us some really great statesmen who did some great things as well. So, I think that we may be seeing a reversal of norms, and here's why. Because I believe that the hashtag walkaway movement, the Democrat Party hashtag walkaway movement, is a significant indicator that the Democrats may be suffering a historic loss in 2018. And I think it's because of their rhetoric. It's because of the insanity. It's because of Antifa and their support for Antifa. It's coming from them clawing at the Supreme Court doors like animals during the SCOTUS swearing in, that the Kavanaugh debacle and all of the weird behavior that went along with that has turned people off. People are leaving the Democratic Party because they're seeing them as unstable, emotional, and therefore unpredictable or dangerous. That many people are leaving the Democratic Party because they see them as dangerous. I can relate. Living here in Oregon, we're living in dangerous times. And many of us are drawing a line in the sand, and we're saying we're going to stand our ground, and we don't care if you want to bully us at your own risk. And so I think that there is a culture war that the left is losing. They're losing this culture war because they've jumped the shark, because they've gone off the deep end. And this is the hashtag walkaway movement. And I think it's being represented in the early indicators of this political process. So, being a Oregonian who lived most of his life in Texas and now lives in Oregon again, I get a lot of news in my news feed from Texas. Now, Texas is a stereotypical right-wing, conservative, Republican red state. And they are having a record turnout. Like, it's blown all of the early voting records away. In some cases, in places like Houston and Dallas, they're reporting double any previous recorded numbers concerning midterm elections. Now, being as most people who are going out early and aggressively voting in Texas are voting for Republicans more than likely, what we're seeing is a red wave, an activation of a Republican base in opposition to the resist movement, in opposition to the people that are screaming at people in restaurants, that they're going to use ballots instead of bullets and make their feelings known concerning this civil war, this incivil behavior, this incivility that has erupted from the left concerning, well, when someone would go after a woman like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her family at a restaurant and, kick them out and shout them down, this Maxine Waters screaming at the top of her lungs, foaming at the mouth like a rabid beast. Okay, let's just put this in perspective. That looks unhinged. That looks crazy. You can call Trump crazy all you want, but he doesn't rant and rave and foam at the mouth like these Democrats do. And he isn't calling for public insurrections and disorder and disorderly conduct and the violation of laws. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a red wave. Here's another indicator. Well, first of all, I voted Republican, a Republican straight ticket for the first time since George Bush Sr. That although I voted for George W., I voted for him, but at the same time, I would vote independent or libertarian on a lot of the undercards, a lot of the other races. And this is one of the first times that I voted straight Republican, not as a vote for Republicans, but as a vote of non-confidence against Democrats. I don't expect to win anything here. We might win the Republican governorship in Oregon simply because our current governor is absolutely crooked and she is on the take and she is got her hand in the government pot and she's skimming and stealing from the state of Oregon, and Project Veritas caught her at it, stealing time, stealing money from her, using her governor position to promote her political and personal goals. Using that money in her campaign and stuff like that, and all, it's out there. So I think there's a good chance that Newt Bueller will have a chance of winning, and we might have a Republican governor in Oregon for the first time ever. I can't remember the last time there was a Republican governor in the state of Oregon. So maybe my vote didn't count, but if we can at least make a good stand against them, maybe they'll get the point that left-wing communist, socialism is not something that most Americans want, and we're not going to put up with political violence from either side, to tell you the truth. That us in the middle are sick of the fight, and we want America back the way it was before, and I mean before there was political violence, when people were peaceful and respectful, and we want to bring civility back to the civilian population of the United States of America. Another social indicator that we may be looking at a red wave is when I went to fill out my particular ballot, I found out that that many of the leftist, what's the word I'm looking for? Their pet projects, their pet things didn't make it on the ballot. They didn't get enough votes. They didn't get enough signatures. And so their gun control stuff did not make it to the ballot. A lot of their leftist agenda was completely left off. And nearly everything that was on there that we're voting on, bills and things like that and amendments to the Constitution here in Oregon, all of them were from the right perspective. All of them were Republican. I mean, I voted yes on pretty much everything. We had one that will stop Oregon from being a sanctuary state. That made it on the ballot, and I voted for it. So we'll stop being a sanctuary state and let law enforcement and immigration work together so that we can stop the flow of undocumented illegal aliens and criminal types from coming into our country and getting a free ride while they're here. So, that went on the ballot. Lots of anti-tax, pro-small government things were on the ballot here in Oregon as well. And all of them were kind of, as I see it, from a Republican perspective. So the left didn't even get enough support to get their stuff on the ballot this year. So it looks like we might see some Republican wins in Oregon. I can't believe it. So at any rate, are you registered to vote? Did you make it in time? Are you voting? This is a chance for you to put your opinion on paper and make it official. And it's a way for you to vote for peaceful government and vote against this resist movement and vote against violence. We want to use ballots, not bullets. Ballots, not bullets. So this is our chance to turn things around, and I hope and I pray that you vote. If you're eligible to vote, vote. If you know people that aren't voting, prick their heart, get to their conscience, speak to their inner human being and tell them and explain to them the importance of this historical watershed moment in history. This is the most important midterm election in American history. Will we support a president that we put in, or will we let them take him out? That is the main question. And do you support insanity, or do you support political normalcy and a political system that has been working for more than 200 years? God save our republic.